The shocking truth about the Japanese billionaire, what the waitress revealed at 3 a.m. In the heart of Tokyo, a mystery lurked, cloaked in shadows and whispered discussions. There was a billionaire, a man whose fortune seemed as boundless as the ocean, shrouded in secrecy, yet everyone knew his name. His presence alone sent chills down spines, and behind his polished veneer lay the strangest stories. Those who crossed his path left with a sense of something unholy, a feeling that something wasn't quite right. But that night, the scene was set for an encounter that would flip the city on its axis. It was a dreary night, rain pounded the pavement like 1,000 tiny hammers. Inside the cramped Shinjuku diner, a waitress named Yuki wiped down the counter, her hands shaky and her expression tense. She heard rumors, dark, twisted tales that made her heart race about the Japanese billionaire. It was said that he had a collection of secrets darker than the most haunted of houses. She felt it that night, the air pulsed with electricity, a tremor that felt foreboding as if the universe itself held its breath. The bell above the door jingled ominously, and in stepped a figure we would later know to be him, instantly freezing the atmosphere. Every eye in the diner was drawn to him like moths to a flame, curiosity mixing with fear. He was taller than life, dressed in a suit that shimmered under the neon lights, but it was the smile that unnerved everyone, a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Yuki's stomach twisted as she caught his gaze, an overwhelming sensation crash landing against her chest. She had heard he liked to gamble, but it was more than that. She sensed there was something else, something sinister. He leaned over the counter, his voice a low, chilling murmur, and asked for a drink. The clock ticked loudly, every second stretching into eternity. For Yuki, a lump formed in her throat. She felt as if she stood at the edge of a cliff, staring down into an abyss. Just when she thought the tension would snap, she remembered her training. "One moment, sir," she squeaked, her voice barely above a whisper. Suddenly, the diner fell quiet. Norms shattered, and as she turned, the world blurred, but that when she spotted a glint. A small, shiny thing beneath the counter caught her eye, a piece of some lost treasure, or perhaps a token of her unraveling nightmare. What was it? She dared a glance back and his eyes seemed to flash like lightning, wild and dangerous, holding promises of chaos. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Yuki's heart raced as she turned the drink around, her instincts screamed at her. Should she reveal what she found? Or was it a trap, another game from a man who thrived on fear? She felt eyes darting from every corner in the diner. The other patrons were keenly aware, holding their breaths and inching away from their cups. Her fingers trembled. Her mind flooded with potential consequences. Everyone awaited the moment, teetering on the edge of discovery. Would she dare confront the truth hidden beneath that smile, or would curiosity bind her tighter to the growing shadow of despair? And just as she was about to speak, the lights flickered. The lights flickered again, a harsh strobe effect illuminating the diner in brief moments of clarity and obscurity. Yuki's breath hitched in her throat, the pulse of her anxiety matching the frantic beats of a drum. For a split second, she locked eyes with the billionaire. His gaze pierced into her like an icy dagger, warning her to remain silent, yet daring her to defy him. The patrons exchanged wary looks, the tension thickening the air around them. Whispers echoed faintly, trapped stories, rumors tangled in dread. Yuki's heart thudded louder than the storm outside. "What's wrong, Yuki?" The cook's voice broke in, anxious and muffled from the kitchen. She had to push through the paralysis creeping in her veins. This was her chance. The shiny object beneath the counter drew her attention like a magnet, its allure undeniable. But what if it meant the end of her? The stakes felt impossibly high. Gathering her courage, Yuki reached down and picked up the glimmering item. It was a silver coin, etched with strange symbols that felt both ancient and foreign. She had seen coins like this in stories about lost empires and dark magic. "What do you want?" she whispered, unsure if the question hung between them, or if it was meant only for herself. The billionaire's smile widened, revealing teeth that appeared sharper now, glinting in the feeble diner light. "Ah, the past never truly stays buried, does it?" His voice flowed like silk over gravel, smooth yet unsettling. Yuki couldn't tell if she was being drawn deeper into his game or if she was already ensnared. A low murmur rose from the other tables, tension cranking tighter with each moment. "Do you recognize it?" he prodded, leaning just a fraction closer, his breath a cold fog on her face. "Some call it a token of fate." As doubt washed over her, Yuki drew a breath and spat out, "It's just a coin." "What are you, is it?" He leaned back, crossing his arms. "A coin can be so many things. It can buy joy or unleash ruin." His casual tone sent shivers down her spine, and she felt the walls of the diner shrink around her. "Tell me, Yuki, are you prepared to discover what you've let yourself in for?" Her instincts screamed to flee, to toss the coin aside and take the safe route. But curiosity had a grip on her, and dread danced with intrigue. Each tick of the clock crushed her resolve further. Then, the lights returned to their steady glow, and the ambience shifted. The diners, wide-eyed and restless, were captivated in an unholy spell. She sensed their collective fear, their unvoiced question hanging in the space between them. What would happen next? Before she could collect her thoughts, the bell jingled again, and the door swung open. A gust of wind swept through the diner, scattering napkins and shaking the glass bottle on the counter. A shadowy figure dashed inside, tracking water and menace behind them. Yuki gasped. The new arrival locked eyes with the billionaire. Recognition twisted his features, and suddenly, the ambience shifted from nervous curiosity to outright terror. "You shouldn't be here," the newcomer hissed, words dripping with urgency and fear. "Not with him." Yuki's heart raced. What did that mean? Who was this new threat? As shockwaves coursed through her veins, Yuki stood frozen in time, the shiny coin still clutched tightly in her palm. The stakes had escalated, and she realized that her world had just spun beyond control. The game was no longer hers to dictate. Then, with a voice like thunder, the billionaire replied, "Oh, but we all play the hands we've been dealt, don't we?" And as the truth drifted closer, Yuki suddenly understood. Things were about to change in ways she couldn't imagine. The diner felt not just like a refuge but an arena for a battle looming on the horizon, and she had been chosen for something darker than the city streets outside. What secrets would the coin unlock? When the past and future collided, would any of them survive? The air crackled with an electric tension, like the calm before a storm, and Yuki could only watch helplessly as the newcomer braced himself, his body tense as if ready to launch at the billionaire. "Get out while you can, Yuki," he urged, his voice hoarse but urgent. He's after something far worse than you can imagine. Each word was a lifeline thrown into a turbulent sea, and Yuki clung to it desperately, though her understanding was still muddled. The billionaire chuckled softly, a sound devoid of warmth. "You think you can protect her?" He leaned back, crossing his arms with a smug expression that sent shivers crawling down Yuki's spine. "This isn't some fairy tale where the hero saves the day. The darker truths must be faced." Yuki's pulse thundered in her ears. Was the newcomer right? Did she truly want to know what lurked behind the shimmering coin in her palm? The unease hung thick in the air, tightening its grip on her heart. The other diners had gone silent, their eyes darting between the two men, some already peeking at their phones as if they might summon help with a single tap. Fear rippled through the room like a wave, and Yuki could sense the desperate energy shifting, hanging on the edge of chaos. "Leave him alone," she shouted, surprising even herself. The words hung defiantly in the air, her voice shaking but resolved. The silence wasn't just her heart pounding, it felt like the world held its breath. "Brave, aren't you?" the billionaire said, his smile morphing into a predatory grin. "But bravery without understanding is folly." He straightened, his gaze fixated on the coin, interest igniting in his eyes. "You're standing at the threshold, Yuki. Are you truly prepared to take the plunge into a sea of secrets? Fates intertwined?" The newcomer moved closer to her, darkness pooling under his eyes like a storm gathering strength. "He's dangerous, Yuki. The coin is a key to the abyss. You can't let him twist it into something sinister." Unexpectedly, the storm outside roared to life, wind bashing against the windows like a warning bell. The lights flickered, casting dancing shadows across the diners' faces, mirroring the turmoil within Yuki's heart. "Don't listen to him." The newcomer's voice cut through the tension. "He manipulated lives to gain his fortune. That coin is part of the centuries-old curse he's trying to unleash." Yuki's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of their words. The weight of the coin in her palm felt heavier than before, a whisper calling for her attention. Shadows lurked at its edges, beckoning her closer. With a sudden determination, she stepped between them, desperation fueling her next decision. "Just tell me what it does." The diner buzzed around them, a sanctuary caught in the tempest of their turmoil. All eyes were on her, waiting, holding their breath. The stakes had never felt so razor-sharp. The billionaire's arrogance flickered for just a moment, an emotion she couldn't quite place. Then, with measured delight, he answered, "It opens doors that should remain shut, darling. And the key is already in your hands." In that moment, realization crashed over her like waves on a rocky shore. What had she unwittingly invited into her life? What sacrifices awaited her if she opened Pandora's box? As the storm raged outside, another wave of fear washed over Yuki. What lurked behind the door she was now in the process of unlocking? And was she prepared for the answers she might find? Panic gripped her tighter, and the room felt like it was closing in. "What happens if I open it?" she asked, voice trembling but resolute. The billionaire leaned forward, eyes glinting with dark mischief. "You'll discover exactly what you're made of." Just then, the lights cut out completely, plunging the diner into darkness. Yuki's heart raced, something was shifting, and she could feel it in her bones. What had she awakened? And would the truth unleash a darkness they couldn't escape? The darkness swallowed them whole, a heavy void where faces blurred into indistinct shapes. The only sounds were the deafening thrum of Yuki's heart and the panicked whispers from the other diners, punctuated by the rattling of dishes and the low howl of the wind outside. She felt a rush of fear envelop her, the unexpected weight of the coin cut through the silence like a knife. "Yuki! Hold on to me!" The newcomer's voice wove through the dark, grounding her amid the rising tide of uncertainty. She reached out, feeling the warmth of his arm brushing against her, the contact tangible like a lifeline thrown across a chasm. Suddenly, a sharp crack pierced the darkness. A bolt of lightning flashed outside, illuminating the restaurant for a brief second. In that haunting flicker, she saw the billionaire's face, a twisted mask of unrestrained delight. It sent a jolt through her, as if the storm outside was echoed in his very expression. "Did you feel that?" he called out, his voice like silk over gravel. "That was the awakening. The coin is alive now, just as you are." "What are you talking about?" Yuki's voice rose, shaking with fear and defiance. "What do you want from me?" "Imagine the secrets hidden behind that coin," he replied, taunting her with sweet venom. "Imagine what you'll learn." "But, my dear, knowledge always comes with a price." A wave of desperation rolled over her. Could he really know something about her past, her family? What sacrifices had she unknowingly linked herself to? The realization gripped her, tightening her chest in a vice of dread. "Yuki!" The newcomer's voice cut sharply into her spiraling thoughts. "We have to get out of here. If he gets to the coin first. Lightning struck again, this time closer, and the lights flickered back to life, revealing the chaos around them. Chairs were overturned, and a few diners had rushed towards the exits in a panic, but none had managed to get far. The air smelled of fear, tinged with the metallic scent of impending danger. "Don't you dare leave!" The billionaire's voice boomed, filled with dark authority. "You have invited this upon yourself. That coin chose you." "I don't care," Yuki shouted. "It's not a weapon to be used against anyone." At that moment, she felt a shift, a pulsing energy emanating from the coin in her hand. It vibrated, yet there was a warmth that kindled along her fingertips. She stared down at it, feeling both drawn in and repelled. The beauty and the malevolence coiled tightly in its form. "Let me help you," the newcomer urged, his intensity unwavering in the flood of chaos. "We can protect you, but you need to trust me. Just don't let him take it." As Yuki tried to process the weight of his words, the billionaire stepped closer, a sinister glint dancing in his gaze. "Trust is a deceitful friend. You have no idea what you're in the middle of. A realm of power awaits you, Yuki, if you're willing to pay the price." Panic spilled over into her thoughts. The weight of the coin seemed to anchor her in a whirlwind of decisions. Should she risk it all? The wind outside howled louder, shaking the windows, a reminder of nature's fury outside that mirrored the tempest within. With a sudden rush of courage, Yuki held the coin high, summoning whatever energy she could muster. "No more games. What will happen if I hold on to this? What horrible truth lies behind the door?" The billionaire laughed, a sound full of disdain and twisted pleasure. "Only the truths you're unprepared to handle. There is a darkness, a hunger, and it yearns for release. The choice rests with you." Just then, the air thickened, and a chilling draft swept through the diner. Something in the shadows shifted, a presence lurking beyond their vision, waiting for a command. Yuki's heart raced anew. Had the door begun to open? Was she truly ready for the revelations that could change everything? Could she face the truth before it consumed her? Outside, the sky erupted in another flash of light, and within that flash, Yuki could have sworn she saw reflections of countless faces, each one a ghost of the past encroaching on her present. But as the darkness swirled around them, one question loomed larger than the storm: what would she become once the door was opened? The shadows twisted and writhed as if alive, creeping closer with each beat of Yuki's heart. The coin pulsed in her hand, its heat radiating like a living thing, both a comfort and a threat. She felt the newcomer's grip tighten around her arm, a silent promise that he wouldn't let her go, even as panic threatened to eclipse her senses. "I won't let him take you," he whispered urgently, his breath warm against her ear, "but we have to act now." Yuki inhaled sharply, her chest constricting as she turned back towards the billionaire. His face glimmered with malicious glee, eyes glinting like shards of ice in the dim light. "You think you can escape? The coin chose you, and it knows your fears and your desires. What do you know about me?" Yuki shot back, more defiantly than she felt. In that moment, the darkness felt so overwhelming, and yet she couldn't let him see her falter. "You're just a man with money. You don't control me." "Oh, sweet child," he sneered, pushing a lock of hair back with a graceful flick of his wrist, "money is merely a tool like that little coin you hold. It can grant you the world or shatter your dreams in an instant." As he spoke, another crack of lightning illuminated the room, and Yuki could feel the weight of the diner's fear pressing down like a thick fog. Whispers of dread coursed through the crowd, mingling with the howling wind. People stumbled backward, their faces ashen, eyes wide with terror. "We have to go," the newcomer insisted, his urgency a lifeline. He reached for her hand, trying to guide her toward the kitchen doors, an escape route shrouded in shadows, but Yuki couldn't move. The coin's pulse intensified, vibrating against her skin. Images flashed before her eyes, a child's laughter, a fleeting family dinner, faces she barely remembered intertwining with their haunting smiles. That night long ago haunted her, she had thought it was buried, but now it surfaced like a monster from the deep. "Stop!" she shouted, turning back to the billionaire, who stood with a smug smile, reveling in her turmoil. "You think you can use this against me? I will never be a pawn in your game." "Ah, but knowledge is a powerful weapon," he mused, eyes gleaming. "You hold the key to your own liberation or your destruction. Unlock the truth, Yuki. Embrace your past and what it makes you." As if in response to his taunt, the coin heated further, almost scalding in her grasp. The world around her faded into a tunnel, her focus narrowing. Shadows trembled, rippling like water, and a low moan thrummed through the diner, a melody more terrifying than inviting. The air shifted, heavy with a thick, suffocating energy. "Yuki!" the newcomer cried, shaking her slightly. "You can't let it get to you. You must break free." The flickering overhead lights pulsed like a heartbeat, filling the space with both dread and an odd sense of exhilaration. What lay ahead? What awaited her if she did embrace the coin's energy? Would it expose her family's dark truths or simply reveal her as a power-hungry villain in her own story? Lightning struck again, this time followed by a deafening roar that shook the ground beneath her feet. The presence lurking in the shadows grew thicker, pressing in from all sides. Yuki felt her soul quiver, and a single thought crystallized in her mind: was she ready for the truth? Could she handle what lay beyond, the potential for power, or would it consume her whole? With one swift, desperate motion, Yuki raised the coin above her head, its glow radiating into the darkness. Time slowed as she felt the pulse of the diner's energy around her, a storm of emotions, memories, and desires swirling together. "Show me!" she screamed into the madness, her voice fierce and unwavering. "Show me who I am." In that instant, everything changed. The energy surged, wrapping around her like a shroud, and she felt herself being pulled into a whirlwind of light and darkness. The faces in the storm grew clearer, echoes of her past scrambling to surface. What new horrors lay ahead? What was waiting for her once the veil was lifted? As the darkness thinned, one thought emerged in the depths of her fraying sanity: what if the answers she sought were buried in a truth darker than she'd ever imagined? Yuki was engulfed in an intensity that felt like raw electricity, the world shifting around her until it became an unbearable haze of noise and color. Time lost all meaning. She found herself standing in a vast space filled with swirling images, snapshots of laughter, tears, and arguments. A warped family dinner became a nightmare, the cheerful clattering of plates transforming into the sound of shattered glass and bitter words. "Yuki, come back." The newcomer's voice tugged at the edges of her consciousness like a lifeline tossed into turbulent waters. But she was waist-deep in memories, churning with confusion, and every fleeting image felt like a fragment of a broken mirror reflecting a life she fought hard to forget. Suddenly, she was drawn back, caught in a scene of her childhood home. Dark rooms where laughter used to echo stood before her, their light snuffed out. The recollection of her father's heated words filled the air: "You will never amount to anything." The chilling voice sank into her, a venom that filled her with doubt and pain. "No!" she gasped, clutching the coin tighter. She had to fight through this. Had to break free. The shadows around her whispered her fears. What if they were right? What if she was destined to fail? Just then, in a sharp flash of light, the billionaire emerged like an apparition, an ominous figure that cast a long shadow over her past. "You see, Yuki?" he taunted, his voice smooth and chilling. "That is the truth. You are nothing without me, without the coin. You thrive on the failures and the darkness that bind you." "No!" she shouted back, a newfound resolve igniting within her as she tore through the veil of memories. "These shadows won't define me." With each moment, the energy from the coin surged even more. Flickers of light danced around her, revealing glimpses of her true self. "Yuki, it's time to embrace who you are," cried the newcomer, gripping her hand firmly. "Let it take you, let it transform you." She could feel the shadows pressing against her, but she held tighter to the coin. Their weight gnawed at her, but then she summoned every ounce of strength. Images of her happiest moments, a drawing she'd made as a child, a supportive friend's smile, the hope of the future flashed before her. She was not defined by her past. "Show me!" She screamed again, the pulse of the coin amplifying her command. The shadows recoiled, twisting violently, as if in protest. The air vibrated with energy, and without warning, a piercing light erupted from the coin, tearing apart the darkness. The diner came rushing back, and what emerged from the whirlpool of energy was striking a world renewed. She stood in front of the billionaire now, no longer afraid, her eyes ablaze with defiance. "I choose my path. You don't own me." The air crackled with electric anticipation. The diners had fallen silent, their eyes fixed on the spectacle unfolding. Whispers rippled through the crowd, a mix of awe and disbelief. Nothing felt certain. Everything was shifting. The world seemed to hang in a delicate balance between fear and liberation, but just as hope surged within her, the billionaire's laughter sliced through the silence. "You think you've won? This is only the beginning, Yuki. Your truth will tear you apart." A shadow loomed at the edge of her consciousness, darkening her victory. A sudden flash of doubt pricked at her heart. Had she really escaped? Or had she only stepped into a larger trap? In that moment, with her reality hanging by a thread and the weight of their futures pressing on her, she realized they had to leave now. "Run!" she shouted to the newcomer, and they dashed toward the kitchen doors, the shadows swirling like a tempest behind them. Would they make it out? And what untold dangers awaited her as she faced the truth the billionaire promised would destroy her? The storm raged outside, a perfect reflection of the chaos within her. Would she be able to confront the darkness once and for all? Or was the coin leading her into a fate more sinister than she ever imagined? The kitchen doors slammed behind them with a deafening crash. Yuki could feel the chill of the shadows rippling through the air, hungry for revenge. She sprinted forward with the newcomer, panic sharpening her instincts as they dashed down the narrow corridor, the fluorescent lights flickering ominously above. "Where do we go?" the newcomer shouted, glancing back as they raced through the back entrance. The tension in Yuki's chest tightened, the fear clawing at her insides. "Anywhere but here." Yuki gasped, her mind racing. The coin still pulsed in her palm, a small battery of fiery hope, but it felt like it was flickering, struggling against the weight of fear surging through her veins. Outside, the storm raged, rain pouring down like daggers, the wind howling like ghosts in agony. They stumbled into a dark alley, searching for refuge, her heart pounding in sync with the thrumming of the coin. It felt connected to her, as if it mirrored her fears and dreams all at once. "Yuki," the newcomer said, breathless, "we need to figure out what to do next." Their eyes were wide, a mix of determination and pure terror. "The billionaire, he'll find us." "No." Yuki spat as she turned to face the newcomer. "I won't let him. I finally see that he can't control me. The shadows, they don't define my future." She centered herself, the coin throbbing with energy. But with that power came the weight of her insecurities. Could she really confront the billionaire? Suddenly, from the depths of the dark alley, a flicker of light caught her attention. It radiated with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "What is that?" she whispered. "I don't know, but we should be careful." The newcomer trailed off, their voice trailing into uncertainty, compelled by an irresistible pull. Yuki approached the light, heart racing as it wrapped around her like warm cloth, contrasting with the cold storm. "It's beautiful." It pulsed with a rhythm, emerald and silver, dancing just beyond her reach. "It feels familiar," she murmured. She reached out a hand, and as her fingertips grazed the light, an electric shock coursed through her, sending stars of realization across her mind. Visions flooded her senses, images of her childhood, moments of joy, but more importantly, secrets buried deep. The billionaire's long shadow loomed over everything, manipulating fate, bending reality. The newcomer grabbed her wrist, fear masking their eyes. Yuki. It's too dangerous. But she shook her head, the force of her history propelling her forward. No, I need to see this. I have to know what this is and how it ties to him. As the light intensified, the shadows at their backs began to ripple, twisting like smoke, ready to crash over them. Yuki had to fight the urge to retreat. She stepped into the light, the energy enveloping her completely, her past, her mistakes, her fears all collided, swirling around her like stars in a galaxy. Yuki! The newcomer called out, their voice fading into the distance as she was swallowed by the light. Don't lose yourself. Then, it happened. Everything around her shattered into fragments, leaving only darkness. Heart pounding, Yuki looked around, panic bubbling in her chest, waiting for something to emerge from the void. What was on the other side? What truths awaited her there? Would she find strength, or would she be consumed by the shadows that threatened to overtake her? With every heartbeat amplifying her questions, she held tight to the coin, her only beacon. But would it lead her into salvation, or further into chaos? Yuki's breath quickened as darkness enveloped her, threads of panic weaving tighter around her chest. The coin in her palm felt warm, a heartbeat urging her forward against the void. She could feel the oppressive weight of silence pressing against her ears, drowning out the chaos she'd left behind. Suddenly, a sharp flash of light erupted from the depths of the blackness, a blinding burst of colors, swirling like paint in water. The light solidified into shapes that felt familiar yet foreign, like a dream barely remembered. She saw flashes of the billionaire's twisted face, his eyes dark and cold, shadowy tendrils curling around his form like sickening vines. Yuki gasped, heart racing, realizing she was witnessing fragments of his power, the tendrils reaching out, pulling at memories, fabricating truths, and distorting her past. Yuki! A voice cut through the hazy images, the newcomer's voice, faint, echoing from somewhere far away. You need to remember. Your family, it's connected. Her heart jumped at the mention of her family. Memories that had been buried deep came flooding back, her mother's soft laughter, her father's stern warnings, the warmth of a home now turned cold by time and shadows. I remember, she murmured, confusion and regret swirling within her. They were taken from me. The ache within her grew as visions unfurled the night she lost them, dark figures looming in the doorframe, the screams that shattered her world. Yuki! The voice was louder now, a desperate call that reverberated throughout the strange void. You have to fight him. He's feeding on your fear. Don't give in. Yuki clenched the coin tighter, its warmth radiating through her fingers, each pulse acting as a beacon in the overwhelming darkness. She began to realize that these shadows weren't just figments of the past, they were alive, feeding off her insecurities, amplifying her doubts. No, she screamed, the word ripping from her throat. You want to take me. Summoning every ounce of strength, she focused on the coin's energy. It glimmered brightly in her hand, a surge of warmth washing over her. As she held it up, the shadows recoiled, icy tendrils snapping back as if burned. Every heartbeat, every ounce of fear she had ever felt, was now directed into the coin. Light surged through her arm, cascading outwards, splintering the darkness into countless shards. I'm done being afraid, she declared, her voice firm and resolute. The visions of the billionaire twisted in pain, his hand reaching out as if to grasp the light, but it only burned brighter. In that moment, Yuki understood the truth. The billionaire wasn't just a man, he was a reflection of all the darkness she had faced, a shadow fabricated from her insecurities. To conquer him, she had to confront her past. I am not your puppet, she shouted, a fiery passion igniting within her. The light radiating from the coin expanded, filling the expanse around her, pushing back the shadows and illuminating her path, but just as she felt the tide turning, a chilling laughter echoed through the void, a sound dripping with malice, sending shivers down her spine. You think you can escape me, Yuki? You're mistaken. The game has only just begun. With a jolt, reality snapped back into focus. Yuki found herself back in the dark alley, breathless and shaken, but transformed. The newcomer stood beside her, eyes wide with fear and awe. "Yuki, what happened?" She looked up, fire igniting in her heart. "I saw him. I know now I need to confront him. He is the key to my past, and he holds my future." Waves of uncertainty washed over the newcomer's face. "But that's dangerous. What if it doesn't matter?" Yuki interrupted, determination pulsing within her. "I can't run anymore." Yet even as she resolved to face her fears, a shadow loomed at the alley's entrance, cloaked in darkness. A figure emerged, his grin widening, too familiar, too chilling. "Yuki," the billionaire said, his voice smooth as silk. "I've been waiting for you." And with that, Yuki felt the shadows stir once more, anxiety clawing at her heart. Did she truly have the strength to face him, or was she walking into a trap of his making? The confrontation loomed, but more importantly the truth about everything hung in the balance. How deep did his control run, and what secrets would he reveal if she dared to challenge him? Yuki's heart pounded as she faced the billionaire, his presence suffocating, like a thick fog that pressed down on her. The alley felt smaller, shadows deriving from every corner, wrapping around her like a vice. She stood there, fists clenched, the coin in her palms still aglow, a shield against the dread seeping from his very being. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, her voice trembling despite her attempts at defiance. The hum of the city was distant here, blocked out by the clamor of her heart. A mocking smile spread across his face, sharp and terrifying. "Because, my dear," he replied, his voice silky smooth like dark chocolate, "your struggle fascinates me. It's all about power, and you've got something I want." "What could you possibly want from me?" Yuki shot back, fighting the quiver in her voice. She was acutely aware of how vulnerable she stood, yet something deeper surged within her, filling her with reluctant courage. "Your fear is intoxicating, Yuki. It feeds me," he continued, stepping closer, shadows shifting and swirling around him like a sinister cloak. "But your light, it's something else entirely. It promises transformation. It could change everything." She found herself taking a step back, heart racing as she unconsciously sought distance. The echoes of that earlier light pulsed through her, and she clutched the coin tighter, aware that in her mind, the confrontation represented more than just a battle against the man before her. "No one should live in the shadow of your twisted desires," she cried, feeling her resolve strengthen. Memories flickered through her family, their love, their loss. She would fight for them. "Sweet girl," he whispered, voice sharp with mockery. "You're naive. You believe you can bring the light into this darkness? Those threads you cling to? They are merely old tapestries unraveling before a greater power. You think you're special?" Yuki felt ice run through her veins, realization settling in like chills on a winter night. "What do you know about me?" "More than you think," he replied, eyes glimmering with malicious delight. "Your family, your past, it all leads back to me. To the power I wield. And soon, you'll see. Together, we could unleash something truly remarkable." Together? The word tasted like ash. "You think I will join you? I'd rather drown in darkness." The billionaire laughed again, a sound that sent chills down her spine, a laugh that echoed within the alley and bounced off the walls, doubling back. "Drown? You've already begun to swim in it, my dear. What do you think this all is? Your fate is already entwined with mine." Yuki felt a rush of fury, fueled by desperation, and held tightly to the coin, its warmth radiating as if alive. "You don't control me," she shouted, channeling her emotions into a force of will. "I'll fight you. I will end this." The shadows he commanded danced violently, almost as if in response to her proclamation. "Fight all you want, Yuki. But I promise, your greatest fears are still waiting for you. Every step into the light leads you closer to a truth you aren't ready to accept." And just like that, he faded into the shadows, leaving an unsettling silence behind. Yuki stood there, trembling, every nerve alive with a mix of fear and anger. The city felt more colossal than before, the weight of her confrontation resting heavily on her shoulders. A man's laughter echoed in her mind, a haunting reminder of the darkness still lurking behind her. "Yuki," the newcomer's voice broke through the stillness. "Are you okay?" I have to find him," she breathed, chest tightening. "There's something more. Something about my family. I can't let him win." "Yuki, wait. We can't just. I have to know." She interrupted, feeling a surge of urgency, a burning imperative to lift the veil of mystery that smothered her existence. "I have to confront the truth, no matter what it means." With newfound determination and a heart pounding with fear and hope, Yuki rushed toward the exit of the alley, not realizing that the shadows were still watching, still waiting. What if confronting the billionaire was only the beginning? What other secrets would the night unravel, and who else was ensnared in his web? The answers lingered just out of reach, as the quest to illuminate her past beckoned her deeper into the darkness. Yuki's heart raced as she burst back into the diner, drenched from the rain and alive with fury. The flickering lights seemed to pulse with her energy. The storms outside had quieted, but within her, a tempest churned. She had faced the shadows of her past, now she had to confront the remnants of darkness that persisted in her present. The billionaire stood there, waiting, as if he had known she would return. His smile was a sinister curve, and his gaze was a cold steel trap. "Did you enjoy your little jaunt into the abyss, Yuki?" he taunted, his voice a silky whisper that slithered across the room. "I trust you found it enlightening?" "I found you," Yuki shot back, her chin raised defiantly. The air thickened with tension, a charged silence falling over the diner. Every eye was on them, anticipation hanging in the atmosphere like the calm before a storm. "You think bravery is enough?" he mocked. "You don't understand the forces you're playing with." Yuki took a step forward, her feet carrying a newfound confidence. "I know what I am," she asserted, her voice steady. "And I won't let you scare me anymore." A low chuckle escaped him, echoing ominously. "Fear is a stranger to me, yet, in you, I see a fascinating contradiction. Your light flickers against the dark, but it's still weak." "Not anymore," she declared, raising the coin high above her head. It gleamed, refracting light like a beacon, illuminating the insidious shadows around them. People in the diner gasped, some backing away as the swirling embrace of darkness began to rear its head, clawing at the corners of the room. "You think that trinket can save you?" he sneered, stepping closer, the shadows at his back swirling in a macabre dance. "You don't even understand it." "Then teach me," Yuki countered, determination lacing her voice. "Teach me the price of power." His eyes narrowed, and a flash of interest sparked in them. "Power? You're willing to embrace that? How naive. What are you willing to sacrifice for it?" In that moment, the air thickened with a palpable energy. Yuki could hardly breathe, her past tangled with the weight of her choices, and suddenly memories surged forth like shards of glass, of laughter turned into screams, of love twisted by fate. "Everything!" Yuki shouted, her voice a fierce declaration. "I'm willing to face whatever darkness you throw at me if it means taking back my life." A beat of silence followed, and the atmosphere around them shifted. Beyond the whispers of the diner patrons, Yuki sensed a brewing storm inside her. No longer a passive player, she felt power ripple within her as if the coin were drawing from her resolve and igniting an ancient fury. "Then let us play," the billionaire smirked, the shadows at his command growing darker and more volatile. "But be warned, Yuki, what lies ahead may well unravel you." With that, he lunged forward, but Yuki was ready. She summoned the coin's warmth, allowing it to flow through her, turning fear into strength. A barrier of light flickered into existence, sending the shadows reeling back. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice resonating with clarity. "I refuse to be part of your game." The light surged, blasting towards the billionaire. He was momentarily caught off guard, the light illuminating his face, flushing the shadows from his features. Yuki saw truths dancing behind his eyes, a flash of uncertainty, of fear, moments when darkness faltered against her determination. "Crush her," he commanded, as his expression turned into one of rage. Shadows lunged at her like starving beasts, ready to consume her whole. But Yuki stood firm, heart pounding as she focused on the light flowing through her. "I choose the truth," she cried, eyes blazing. The light exploded outward, a dazzling shockwave bursting through the diner, shattering the darkness like fragile glass. The shadows shrieked, twisting in chaos, threatened by the power of her resilience. The diners around her watched in awe, their fear eclipsed by a flicker of hope as Yuki's resolve brightened like the dawn breaking. "Your time is over," she shouted, locking eyes with the billionaire, who stood now shocked, the shadows recoiling from her brilliance. I cannot be defeated," he stammered, fear creeping into his tone for the first time. The darkness around him began to fracture, revealing glimmers of light that he could not muster against. "Then face the truth," Yuki commanded. "The past is nothing compared to the strength of my will. I am not your puppet, I am my own light." And with one final push, she unleashed all that she had: the pain, the stories, the resolve to the forefront of her heart. The light erupted, engulfing the diner, illuminating every crevice, every terrified face, until the shadows evaporated into nothingness. The room fell silent. For a moment, everyone held their breath, the tension hanging thick in the air. Then, in an explosion of applause, the diners erupted into cheers. Yuki stood there, the coin still aglow, heart racing but filled with a knowing calm. She felt the weight of her past lighten, shadows lifting from her shoulders. The billionaire stood at the edge of the light, shaken and furious. "This is not over. It is for me," Yuki replied, her voice ringing with finality. She had stepped beyond the threshold, embraced both the light and darkness within her, and emerged stronger. As the crowds began to leave the diner, no longer imprisoned by fear, Yuki turned to the newcomer, who stood stunned with admiration in their eyes. "Let us step into the future together," she said softly. Hand in hand, they walked out into the bright city lights of Tokyo, leaving the secrets behind them. The past might linger like shadows, but she was finally ready to rise into her own light. This is it, everyone. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us celebrate this journey together.